Welcome back, everybody, and welcome to the weekend. Scott Breen at Dealer Park, where fans should be moving about the concourse tonight, celebrating opening night for your Billings Mustangs. If, in fact, we have seen the last of minor league baseball in Billings and your Mustangs as we know them, well, major league owners can take our team, but they can't steal our memories. Baseball was my sport growing up here in Billings, and when the Mustangs rolled in every June, that meant summer. My grandparents had box seats near the third base dugout. Second row, those are the box seats that we sat in, and I specifically remember it because I always wondered why they weren't in the front row. We'd always park across 27th Street at what was then Deaconess Hospital, and I couldn't get to the front gates fast enough. The first year I vividly remember, 1983. Shortstop Kurt Stillwell was my guy. Reds took him with the overall #2 pick that summer, and he instantly took the Mustangs to #1 and a Pioneer League championship. I remember the celebration. He was doused in red Gatorade at home plate, and I was hooked. Stillwell played 9 years in the majors, became an all-star, and is now a fishing guide. Unlike today, it seemed like the best players would stick around all summer, and there were no pitch counts. If you were mowing guys down, you stayed in the game. If you got shelled, you got yanked. I loved every part of Mustangs baseball. Applied to be a bat boy, made it to the final cut, then got cut, ultimately like most of the players who came through. I went down swinging though, and General Manager Lou Morris rewarded me with a season pass. It was gold. Then Bob Wilson took over with his noticeable limp and never-ending stash of cigars, always top-notch. I wasn't old enough to watch George Brett play for the Mustangs, but I remember his picture hanging in the dark hallway under the first base stands. I could hardly believe he played in Billings as I watched him win the World Series with the 1985 Kansas City Royals. What a summer that was. I was barely a teenager and these guys were kings. I'd rustled up some autographs in my earlier years, but in '85 I was invited to lunch with 2 players, a friend of a friend thing, pitcher Kent Hughesby and outfielder Jeff Forney. Trying to play it cool, I could barely swallow bite after bite. These guys were what I wanted to be, pro baseball players. After lunch, they surprised me with this brand new glistening baseball bat and what they called a pearl, a game ball yet to be touched. I'm as grateful today as I was back then and remember it like it was yesterday. That was my first big-time luncheon. Don Wakamatsu was my favorite catcher on the team. Here's his autograph. Hughesby told me after a game once that Wakamatsu was still in the clubhouse biting a bullet while the trainer pulled an ingrown toenail. 35 years later, he's still in the bigs today as a bench coach in Toronto. Lenny Harris was on the team. Lenny Harris, the third baseman, played 18 seasons in the majors until he was 40. My parents would intentionally avoid driving by Cobb Field on game nights because if I saw field lights, oh, it was over. And if we went to a game, I was there until the final out. No school, no hurry. I tried to grow up in college, but instead became a sportscaster. Arrived home and started covering the team I'd grown up idolizing. That was a weird dynamic before I shifted from idolizing these guys to truly appreciating them. My first summer covering the Mustangs, 1993. I still have this full deck of team cards. Manager Donnie Scott, pitching coach Terry Abbott, catcher Paul Bacco, 12 years in the majors, and pitcher Scott Sullivan played 10. Overall, they've treated Billings to 15 championships, most in the Pioneer League. More favorite moments, always bobblehead night, honoring Mustangs who'd escalated to the major leagues, many of them all-stars, some of them World Series winners, and a few to the Hall of Fame. And superstars were always my favorite sideshow. Harry Canary, Clammy Sosa, and Ken Giraffe Jr. all included. Mustangs are the only professional team in Billings to last the test of time over decades. Tonight would have marked 68 years of minor league baseball here, 47 straight with the Reds. Summer after summer, Mustangs baseball was a social event. The new Dealer Park offered the feel of a big deck party, one of the few pro sports venues left where a beer is cheaper than a ticket. Games were affordable, attendance dominated, and to this day, Mustangs baseball has helped keep me from growing up. If in fact they are gone, they'll certainly be treasured. We're back in a moment.